Welcome up! In this episode, we will talk about the majoritarian and the proportional electoral systems, evaluating pros and cons of both options. Coming up. Hello, I'm Understanding Politics, and in this channel I explain political theories and debates to students as well as curious and passionate people, just like you. Almost all countries in the world use elections. Nevertheless, democracies and autocracies use them with different objectives. For the former, elections are a way for citizens to elect their representatives. In this system, the vote is universal, meaning extended to everyone, free, without any type of constriction, equal, meaning that each vote is counted as any other, secret and meaningful, producing an effect on the political system. For the latter, elections are not free, but instrumental to the regime's legitimacy. This does not mean that the autocrat would not win the elections if they were held in a way that is free, but generally they are not, hence the autocracy. The discussion we are about to make is therefore functional to democracies. Elections can be held for a number of different institutions. For monocratic positions, such as presidents and mayors, elections are simply majoritarian. In other words, who receives more votes take the position. This is often done in 2 rounds of elections, so to have an elected candidate receiving the absolute majority of votes in the election. The discussion on pros and cons of majoritarian and proportional electoral system is then intended for collegial institutions, such as parliaments. For simplicity, a majoritarian system is the one in which the candidate receiving more votes takes the seat, while in proportional systems, it is the party to receive seats in proportion to the number of votes received. The underlying difference is in the dimension of the constituency, or electoral college. If we're talking of a single-member constituency, we have a majoritarian system, because regardless the number of candidates competing in that particular constituency, only one will be elected, and other parties will not be represented. These can happen in a single or double round of elections. On the other hand, proportional systems have multi-member constituencies. In other words, having more seats to allocate, they will be given in proportion to the candidates or parties that have achieved the best results. As you may imagine, the dimension of the constituencies and the mathematical formula used to calculate the proportions produce different results. Majoritarian systems tend to result in the formation of a 2-party competition. This happens in the US and in the UK. In this system, there is not a great ideological difference between parties, because moderate centrist parties tend to receive a higher number of votes. Proportional systems represent a much wider ideological scope because more parties are assigned seats. Still, representation will never be perfect. In fact, to avoid excessive fragmentation, proportional systems have thresholds of exclusion. Parties or coalition that do not receive a minimal percentage of votes are excluded from the distribution of seats. Moreover, while in majoritarian systems, the voter always chooses the candidate, this is not always the case for proportional systems. At times, lists can be closed, and the voter can choose only the party, while party leaders will decide who gets the assigned seats. All these differences produce a different balance among power of the electorate, representativity of the assembly, and efficiency and speed of the government. Majoritarian systems often produce single-party governments, facilitating the efficiency and speed of governments themselves, but affecting the representativity of the assembly. At the opposite, proportional systems favor coalition governments, affecting their speed, but reaching decisions desirable for a wider portion of the society. Clearly, there are other aspects affecting the balance of these principles. For instance, a smaller parliament means less representation. On the other hand, proportional systems with closed lists diminish the overall voting power of the electorate. This is why some countries opt for mixed systems that try to temper the flaws of majoritarian and proportional electoral laws, while retaining their advantages. In Europe, 31 countries have simple proportional systems, with open or semi-open lists. In this last example, a vote is intended for both the candidate and the party, but political leaders can decide the order of those elected. 2 countries, the Republic of Ireland and Malta, have the single transferable vote. This is a variation of the proportional system where voters rank their choices in order of preference. In case the first choice of a voter has already enough votes, or on the contrary, it has no chance of being elected, this vote is assigned to the candidate indicated as the second preference. Two more countries, Germany and Hungary, have adopted the mixed member proportional representation. In this context, voters receive two ballot papers. In the first one, they indicate a candidate from their constituency, and in the second one, they simply indicate the party chosen in a closed list. While recent reforms have made the Hungarian electoral system closer to the majoritarian, overall, the mixed member proportional is very representative of the opinion of the electorate. Andorra, Italy, Lithuania, North Macedonia, and Ukraine used mixed systems that often elect a portion of the parliament with the proportional and a portion with the majoritarian. The only system in Europe with a purely majoritarian system is the UK, that, as the US, has a relatively old electoral law. As clarified so far, each system has flaws, but most European countries updated or changed electoral laws to better reflect the needs or alleged needs of their democracy. Lecture is over. As usual, you will find all the sources in the description of the video. Given the problems of the majoritarian electoral system, in the UK in 1951 and in 1974, the Labour Party received more votes than the Conservative, but it obtained less seats in Parliament. Similarly, in New Zealand in 1978 and in 1981, the Labour Party obtained more votes, but it was the National Party that maintained the majority in Parliament and formed the government.